Pierre-Yves Gibello, the CEO of a company that is OW2, an open source association. So I leave you the stage, and we are listening to your presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, so very quickly, I'm the CEO, I'm Pierre-Yves Gibello, I'm the CEO of OW2. Maybe some of you never heard of us, I don't know. OW2 is a French-based open source foundation. So we are smaller than usual foundations you can imagine. I mean the US style foundations like Linux Foundation or Eclipse. If you take Linux Foundation, Eclipse is 10 times smaller, and we are is 20 times smaller, and we are also 20 times smaller than Eclipse. 6 people as a whole, but we are here since 2007, so it's not so bad. We host projects, we animate a community, and we advocate for open source, mostly in Europe. We have clearly a European orientation. So what we believe is that collective intelligence is the way we should do open source, and that we must break silos between people so that people can talk to each other, even when it's somewhat unexpected. So we are very proud that we have in our members very large companies like Orange or Huawei, for example, and also a lot of SMEs. And we also talk to activists in France like April, associations that are very, that defend free software in political terms and so on. So none of these people refuse to talk to us. We also have academics, many of them, because it was, they were there at the inception of OW2 and they are still there. And we have some public bodies in France, some large ones even. We have the city of Paris. We have the Gendarmerie Nationale, which is a police force equivalent to the Carabinieri. So it's, we have people like that, and they do open source, these people. So that's interesting. We are also involved in a European network of foundations, including, as you can see, NLNet. We team with on a project I will talk to you briefly about, which is called NGI, one which can fund open source projects. Concerning privacy and sovereignty in our community, we have some members who are focused on that. So as you can see, I talked about the Gendarmerie before, but we also have the city of Paris with their Cité Libre framework. It is for cities portals. We have Linfon, probably you already know them. We have Les Monel d'Apenji, which is an identity management on the SSO system. We also have Murena. Murena, I don't know if you heard of them. My phone here is a Fairphone with Murena on it. Murena is a de-Googleized operating system, so there's no Google on this phone. It's a fork of Lineage OS, in fact. So it started from a Google fork, but it's not anymore on Google Android. So all these people, we have CryptPad as well. XWiki is a member of OW2. So all these people are involved in what we should call our sovereignty framework. And we also have been have had a lot of occasions to work to team with Mastodon, to talk at events and so on, because they have been funded across some of our NGI funds. For example, you can see a picture with Mastodon, Open Food Facts, EOS, the OS behind Murena, on CryptPad. So I had all these people on the scene, on the stage. So this talk, in fact, it started by the first question was who can we trust? So as you can see here, for example, the Chinese market of biometric technology is there's a kind of I mean it's non-linear. It is growing very quickly, but it's not just the Chinese. I mean you can see on the other side an article from USA Today. So if it's an American media who talks to American people to warn them against American technology, because it is about what can you do so that Google does not listen to your conversation. So it's not just the Chinese, the Americans as well. And what about Europeans? This was a leak in the French press by an activist media at the center. France has been advocating secretly to weaken the AI Act so that anything that concerns public security at large, if there is some trouble to public order, for example, is outside of the AI Act, so the police can use AI to track you, and it's outside of the protection of the European legislation. So, I mean, we do the same. The Chinese, the Americans, France, and probably your country as well. As you can remember, recently, smartphone made many of us a kind of cops. It was the pass, the COVID pass. Even if you organize an event like that, you would be you would have. There was a volunteer at the entrance gate with a smartphone who was checking passes. So these technologies can turn you into a cop in 5 minutes. So we can trust nobody, and smart devices are watching you. These slides are out of an Austrian study from 2017, I think, so it's not recent, from Cracked Labs, a kind of activist factory in Austria. And the study is very interesting. And this is about how anything you do, you swipe something, you like something, you click on something or whatever on your smartphone or anything, this is tracked to know exactly what you do. Which content, which product, how do you react to information, and so on. So it provides quite a very strong, they have a good image of what you are in reality. And also, you should remember that there are specialized actors called brokers who aggregate everything about you. So one of them, and probably the oldest, I think they are here since the 70s or so they are very old, is Axiom. It's an American company. So they have up to 3,000 attributes on 700 million people, and this was in 2017, so it is worse today, I think. Oracle is one of the biggest actors of that market as well. So they have billions of people in their database, and this is everything about you. Because if you search something about health, about cancer, about heart disease, I don't know, then you are categorized as potentially a patient, and so on. And this is data are crossed so that it becomes more and more accurate. So they know everything about you, your religion, your sexual orientation, if you are an activist, if you are part of a union or anything. Everything is stored, and they can profile you, and they know also your economical health, of course, your purchase power is scanned because you pay by credit card, and all these networks are somewhat interconnected, and these information are gathered in huge databases like that. And this is not recent. It has started in 1969 for Axiom, so it's very old. So people know as well. There are information that are quasi permanent, like, for example, legal decisions and things like that. So if you have been convicted to anything, even 20 years ago, it is in the database as well. So why is it worse with AI? Because there is more. Of course, AI can be used to profile data and so on, but there were already very powerful tools to do that. But now you also have more temptation to provide data. For example, you send something to ChatGPT to summarize a complex document, and all the data you provide is stored and analyzed by the tool behind. So you provide data, confidential data about your company, about yourself, and so on, because it's a convenient tool. There is also more dependency on oligopoly player. So this is also, these people bet on the infrastructure race because they want to gather more and more data in single actors. So this is clearly the data capitalism, which involves both states and companies. It's a kind of synergy between the two, and it's the same in China and in the United States. And of course, the negative externalities like the impact of AI on climate change. So what can we do? We can degooglize, like my phone, for example, is degooglized, but it's not just that. You can use OpenStreetMap, you can use Fediverse applications, and all this as well induces decentralization, and decentralization is key, interoperability and decentralization, because, if the data is not stored at a central place, it is stored at several servers run by different actors, then it's not possible, or it's much more difficult to gather everything in a single database. So it brings safety and privacy. So that's very important to use that kind of decentralized architectures. You, of course, if you use a LLM, if you can, particularly in the corporate world, host your own or rent a local one, but do not use the APIs of OpenAI, for example. And of course, opt for open source, but I don't have to say that here. You all have understood already, I think. Of course, FOSS is a two-sided coin. Android is open source. OpenHarmony, the equivalent in China from Huawei as well. So this is required for trust. It's good, it's fine, but it is also more efficient. If these people opted for open source, it is because open source is efficient economically. So even to mine your data, it is more efficient, of course. So we must look at alternatives, and we must try to foster them, like Android forks, like Linux-based phones based on Ubuntu Touch or other technologies. We have a third way between the Chinese and the American way in Europe, and it is based on that. It is based on open source, decentralization, and interoperability. I will skip this one because, but just it's my phone. And yes, what's interesting is that there is a kind of tracker blocking app on this phone. So you can see that, for example, on some of my apps, I see that some trackers. Did you ever hear about brace.eu, adjust.world or something like that? Me, never. And I did not agree to provide any data to these people. So when I look at the statistics and the logs from my blocker, I'm somewhat amazed because people send their data to all these services. Okay, so just a few seconds to talk about NGI and NGI Zero Commons. This sentence comes from NLNet, the answer to market failure and dystopian runaway, what I mentioned before, lies in collective action and public investment. So that's the aim of cascade funding a la NGI. NGI is probably the most efficient horizon funding ever. It has funded about 1,200 projects in 6 years. It is small funding. It is very easy to apply, just a form to fill in. And it is focused on FOSS community, sovereignty, civil rights, privacy, and so on. Okay, so if you want to know more about NGI, I have some brochures here I can give you. I have on the booth as well at the entrance. And in 2 hours, less than 2 hours now, I also have a BOF session. which is focused on NGI, on the current fund, NGI Zero Commons Fund. So it's at 3 p.m. in the Crane Hall room, and 40 minutes to talk about just that, NGI, and how you can leverage it to fund your open source project. Thank you very much.